Hello, this is Aaron Klein. Yeah, I'm gonna let my hair grow a little bit just once in a while. My facial hair. This is like the third time I'm recording this, and that sucks. I was actually cool with the last recording I did. I even had a polo on and everything because I wanted to change things up. But I ended up. This is miraculous. Apparently, YouTube. If you pull it up, usually I try to pull it up on Chrome and upload from there because it doesn't like to work on my app. Like I have to, for whatever reason, it starts on Chrome and then it uses the app. But apparently, uh, I was still logged in somehow on my other YouTube channel, my gaming one, and it ended up uploading it there. So for a whole 45 minutes, thankfully no one saw it, but for a whole 45 minutes, it was up there. And I thought because I'd uploaded it, I could go ahead and delete this, right? Because I was getting rid of a whole bunch of old files off my phone. So yeah, I have to record this. So yeah, let's just start with what the video's about. Today we're talking about what makes healthy relationships. You'll find a lot of information from other psychologists out there. So this is kind of just reiterating what goes into them. But on the flip side, I'm gonna try to explain. It's windy. Yeah, it's probably gonna rain eventually, so I'm gonna do my best to make this fast. Um, it's I'm gonna try to do my best to give you some of my opinions on some ways to start sorting out partners. Like that'll be towards the end. So to start with, what does a healthy versus an unhealthy relationship look like, and why do they look like that, and how do we prevent that from happening? So to start out with, I'm just going to use some. I have people from my church that have been married 60 years, so I'm gonna kind of look on them to see what their relationships look like. To start out with, this idea that the emotion of love should be what's drawing people together, that is a complete lie. Yes, it is good to have some attraction, but falling in love per se, when it becomes an emotional ride, there's something going on there that's probably not healthy. And yeah, it is bright out. It's noon. I'm sitting at a white table. I'm gonna do my best to look at the camera or close to it. I can't really look down because the table's too bright. So yeah, that's the first major step. The massive emotional leap that comes with major attraction. It's not a very healthy thing. A lot of people use that as their basis to start a relationship. People will just go up to whoever is attractive and try to get their number and whatnot. Now I will say this: it isn't wrong to be attracted to your partner. In fact, you kind of need it, or else your relationship gets very stale very quickly. On the flip side, if you are overly attached to your partner, it's an unhealthy obsession. And the idea that people will keep that feeling, 5, 10, 20, 30 years, 60 years, people walk into relationships nowadays and they are having fantasies about them that just won't work out. They don't hold up in the real world. Usually somewhere after 2 to 2.5 years, the honeymoon phase is over and that's all gone. So realistically, a good close relationship, I'm just going to use relationship because I want to make this available for gay people too. A good relationship is one where you are best friends first. You like the person as a person, not sexually. and then you start building that intimacy as you go on. Now, it is important to say that you should have some excitement in the relationship once in a while. That is necessary to keep the relationship moving. To be quite fair, relationships should feel like walking. They shouldn't feel like sprinting. There can be a bit of a run once in a while, but they should not be dead, sitting dormant. Just looking around at what is healthy in my church and what's not, I've met people who got married within 6 months, and their relationships are just tragedies, to say the least. Whereas now, of course, once in a while they work out. I'll say for my mother's generation, if you got married within 6 months, if you're outside the church, you probably have you have about, like, for my mom's generation, it'd be something like a 40% chance of failure just outright, like before you even get married. And then a lot of people end up getting divorced from my mom's generation, and it's kind of pervasive down through our generation too, where it's like, I think the divorce rate is like 60% right now, which is insane. But beyond that, you should be waiting to get married until after you. There's two really big criteria you should be looking for. Like, you should pick one of them for the relationship, whichever works. One, once you have gotten to a point where once the relationship has hit kind of a lull, you need to start rationally looking at what you like about the other person, what you don't like. And you need to, like, spend a little bit of time away from each other to do this. Probably a good whole month. I'm saying, like, maybe a date once in a while. Not, like, you cannot be talking to this person on a daily basis if you're trying to have a rational vision of this person and a rational vision of the relationship. If you're going in early, you need to be able to take a step back. You need to hold each other with respect and realize that the other person is a human being too. You need to look at their flaws and look at what you like about them, and start and you need to look at interactions. See what you didn't like, see what you did like, and you need to kind of compare those to what kind of problems could be coming up. For example, I have met some very entitled women that will berate waiters at restaurants. Thankfully, we weren't even friends. We just kind of talked to each other, and, like, it was meetings. I wouldn't say meetings. I'd say, like, group lunches or whatever. And I stopped talking to that person, period, after that. You need to start figuring out, even if they're small, you need to figure out what that means is in that person. And you should also be looking for, well, the reason why I say this is because there's a lot of people with some personality flaws. I wouldn't even, like, there are some people that just straight up have personality disorders, and there are some personality flaws. Entitlement is a very pervasive flaw right now, so that's something to be on the watch for. But you can probably find a whole list of personality flaws out there, and a lot of them kind of indicate that the person isn't really a good person, and they're probably putting on a facade because they like you. Thankfully, if the person doesn't like you to begin with, romantically, it's really easy to spot those because they're not trying to impress anyone. That's kind of the point of getting past 2 years. They're not trying to impress you anymore. If you didn't start out as close friends or whatever, then you're probably safe to look at how the person behaved before you started dating or whatever, and not around their romantic partners, how they were around their friends, how they treated their friends, how they treated the people they didn't know, that kind of stuff. That's if you're looking to get married within like before the 2-year mark. After the 2-year mark, I'd wait around another 6 months because they're gonna start giving off a lot of red flags after that. Like no kidding, I've met personally I've met some people, some women that I used to call friends that within it's been less than a year now, she's already started to show that she's not just entitled, but that she's got she's got a personality disorder, and I had to cut her off. She's blocked on my phone. She is blocked on my messenger. I just do not talk to her anymore. And I think she's gonna get the message soon. It's been a week and there's been like 7 calls already. That's not a good sign. Let that be known, that's not a good sign. I mean, thankfully she doesn't know where I live. She doesn't know that I bought a new car. All that was cut off before we, I didn't even meet her personally yet. Like, we were planning to do lunch, and then I started hearing from my family the way she was behaving outside of talking to me, because my siblings work, they work at Dollar General. I live in Indiana, so like my 2 siblings, 2 of my younger siblings, they both work at separate Dollar Generals, and one of them told me how she was behaving, and I'm just like, oh yeah, no, this is not good. But beside the point, if you need to wait till people aren't trying to impress you to get that, and then you need to see how they behave. So now here's the issue, and this is an issue more for women than it is for men. 2.5 years is a long time for women because they can only have kids for so long. After like 30, it's a lot harder for them to get pregnant. Women have the burden of having a clock to work on. So if women aren't married by 35, odds of them having kids are kind of low. If they haven't had a kid by the time they're 45, they're not having kids, like pretty much period. Guys, on the other hand, the issue with guys is we are kind of responsible for proving that we can take care of a family, especially if it's going to be a one-income household. So if we start investing when we're younger, which realistically is what we should do, we should be investing into trying to find a spouse. If we start investing when we're younger, those resources could go to other people, and those resources could have been used to better ourselves. So when a guy invests when he's young, it's a huge investment of his time and of his resources. So like by the time a guy is 35, he either has to start looking for younger women, or like if he waits, he has to start looking for younger women. And of course a lot of worldly guys are cool with that. But for me personally, and for a lot, I'm saying like the guys who are socially healthy, 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds when you're 35, they're not quite emotionally as mature. Now of course they're a lot more mature than when they're 18 or 16, but the point stands, if you want a healthy relationship, you need someone within like 5 years of you, and you probably hurt yourself a lot trying to find one of those people when you're younger, when you could have had a family. Shoot, where was I going with this? Those are just some of the issues. Realistically, a healthy relationship should look like, I got completely sidetracked and I'm sorry about that. A healthy relationship should look like a walk with some running once in a while. It's a marathon. It's a journey, not a race. And a lot of people think that it's a race, and then they burn themselves out in 4 months. I've seen it happen multiple times. I've had dude friends that go out and get relationships, and then they're dead within 3 months because they were just looking for the feels. And then they got those feels, and then that person became kind of boring, they were having sex super early. The relationships didn't work out because they were throwing so much at the other person, and they were exposing themselves way too fast. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. This isn't quoting Richard Grandin, but I will say this: he has a lot of experience with relationships, especially with people who have personality disorders, and especially those who have codependent tendencies. There we go. So when I say this, it's coming from an expert. I'm not quoting him verbatim, but I am giving you the gist. Nowadays, people are looking to consume. So they're looking to consume the other person, and that is not very healthy. People break boundaries. They break their own boundaries down in order to get this fix, this emotional high. And then once they've gotten that high, they end up chasing that high, and then it just falls apart because they've been chasing it so much, and then relationships fail. So and that's because there's no respect for the other person in the relationship. If you want a long-term relationship, there should be a lot of respect. There should be boundaries within your relationship, even if you're married. And I'm talking like 50 plus years, there are still boundaries in relationships. There's still freedoms, and there has to be. The healthy relationships that have worked in my church have been ones with people that had healthy boundaries, that had things other than their spouses to do. Like, I shouldn't put it that way. They had things other than their spouses to attend to and their children, but at the same time, they still set priorities. And setting priorities is hard when you don't have boundaries. You have to be able to judge within yourself what is good for you and for other people before you can judge what should be a priority. Now let me move on to say, if you ever get in a relationship with a psychopath and or narcissist and or a person with borderline personality disorder, realistically, people in the cluster B, I'll just say cluster B for now, but that should all be clumped into a lack of empathy personality disorder. These people, they know how to play on emotions. They know how to get what they want because they know how they themselves work, so they apply that to other people and they play on people's emotions. If you get into a relationship with these people, you are guaranteed to be love bombed and exploited. And after 4 months, like they will do their best to get into a very strong relationship with you and to groom you. But if you end up getting married to these people, you are in for a world of hurt. This is why people need methods of vetting their partners. So, and vetting is just, I think it's short for investigating, but basically it's a way to separate out, it's a way to identify the key components that they need to understand about the person and decide if they're worth investing more into, or if the investment to learn about the person was enough to say, yeah, sorry, I can't spend any more time with you, we aren't going to go anywhere, or it's going to hurt us, so we have to break up. We'll get into healthy ways to break up later, but that's I'll just make that in 2 more videos. I have one in front of me, and so it'll be the next one. So some tips I have learned. One, start looking for personality disorders real quickly. And quite frankly, if you can interact with people outside of dating, do that. Because that will let you get free social interactions, and they're not invested in trying to impress you. So that serves 2 purposes. One, you don't have to worry about the honeymoon phase where they're trying to impress you, and it's a free, it's not just like you invest the time, but you don't have to invest the resources that come with it if you can talk to them in a social setting. Now, if that means if it's at a group lunch, sure, you invest money into the lunch or whatever, but you're not having to invest anything into them other than your time. The easier it is to invest, like the fewer resources you have to use to get the social interaction you want, the better. And that's a really now I will say this: if you think the person is worth your time, it is a good idea to start investing into dates and stuff. But you still have to be on the lookout for these things. There's a lot of issues with entitlement. If the person starts treating everything like a game, fair warning, that means they're probably psychopaths. They're out to win everything. There are people in this world that are only there to win. And I say that quite liberally. You will see these people as lawyers often. You will see them in management positions, and as you in larger companies, as you work higher up, they will be in the higher ups. Sometimes you'll see entire middle managements that are just full of psychopaths. It's kind of depressing, but that's what they're good at, and they get a whole lot of resources for it. The issue is they are literally antisocial, so they are out to manipulate any system they can because they are there to win. They don't care. Like, they see the rules and they will break whatever they can get away with. You give them an inch and they'll take a mile. You won't see this as much with like cold empathy narcissists versus like there are actually two types. Like in the cluster B, there are two types there are two personality disorders that have some empathy. People with borderline personality disorder, they have empathy. They often end up just discarding it to become secondary psychopaths when things start going badly for them. And then there's the non-psychopathic narcissists. Non-psychopathic narcissists have some empathy, so they can behave well. But the difference between a psychopath and the narcissist is that psychopaths are out for material gain. They're out to just win. And narcissists are there for social supply. So there might be a party or something, whatever. Sorry about that. I just hear some stuff in the background. You can see these people. They after like the first 3 months after they've love bombed you, you will see these people. So a good rule for thumb, if they're trying to get you into a long-term relationship within a month, 2 months, now this isn't always the case, but if they're trying to get you into a long-term relationship, there's probably something wrong with them. Now it could just be that they are codependent and they have a subconscious need for they just have a subconscious need to try to support someone. Those people need help, but they're not dangerous like the rest of the cluster B people are. I'm getting that completely wrong in a lot of ways, but there are people that need help, and the people that can use it, I say can use it, are those on the flip side of narcissists. I'll say them like the flip side. They're like the other side of the coin, the codependent people. These are usually people that chose to try to give instead of. They didn't try to protect themselves when they were children. They tried to give to try to be loved. So these would just be the people that didn't use narcissistic ideals to try to get where they were. These would be the people that got the treatment the narcissist did after they were 6, after they were developed socially. So they would so they'd have some idea of how to treat other people. I think 6 is kind of like the cutoff age there. But anyways, I'm way off topic. There are most definitely a list of red flags out there that you should be looking for. Now I will say this: there are a lot of people that have extra red flags. Like, a lot of people won't date single moms. I say I'm willing to, but there has to be some leeway there. A lot of the reason why I say that is because single moms made some bad decisions before they got to you as single moms. So they need to first realize that they are. I'm not trying to be rude to the kids, but they are carrying around extra baggage that the dude can see. So there needs to be some give and take on who they can actually get to date them. And the other issue is, a lot of the times these single moms are single moms because they are entitled. So they slept around with guys that they thought they might be able to get by giving them sex first. And then they got pregnant, and these guys just dipped and were like, thank you for the sex, but this was casual, and I'm not ready to take care of a kid. You see where this is going? A lot of the times, the issues that people are facing, they have a role in them. They're not just victims. They are perpetrators in their own demise often. Yeah, that's a good way to go about to say it. Now I will say this: I feel extremely terrible for men who have gone through marriages and their wives were monsters, and after they got their kids, they divorced the dad and just soaked in child support to have a living for the rest of their life, so they didn't have to work. That is a very popular. I'm not going to say a mainstream, but it is a very popular way for entitled women to milk a man for his resources. And this is and it usually happens after a woman's after they're 30, and they don't really want a marriage per se. They like the feelings, and then they have the kids, and then they realize, I really don't like this person, I got what I wanted, so they get out. These are really entitled narcissistic women. So this is why I say you need to have a checklist of things you are looking for. And a lot of these things you can just ask your mothers for, like, what do they see wrong in other women, and it just comes up. Now, if your mother is an unhealthy person, odds are she's still going to have some of the same, she's still going to have a lot of the same qualms, she's just not going to see them in herself. Or if she's a psychopath, she'll see them in herself and be like, yeah, and. But anyways, a lot of the times, women know what to look for in other women because they themselves figured out this is not the way to do it. This is the wrong way to be a good human being. Now, of course, that is fair. That is one way. That is one reason. That is one thing you should ask women, but you shouldn't be. Like, that is a good role to have. That is a good reason why a woman should be a mother. Why there should be both a man and a woman in a relationship. Because it also makes sure your kids know what to look for when they go out and look for partners. Again, no offense to gay people. I'm just saying, if you adopt kids, you're probably going to have. If you adopt kids, you're already in a minority as gay people, so don't expect your kids to also be gay. And if you do adopt, it may be a better idea if you adopt teenagers who are already gay. That might help. That's actually a really good social fix, because there's a lot of times when gay couples don't know what to tell their, like, gay men don't know what to tell their daughters about how to behave around other women, or like there's no way to call out some issues because the feminine part wouldn't be with the masculine part. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be rude, but like that, it would help if you adopt older kids, and it would be a better idea anyways, because there's a lot of older kids that need help. So instead of going out and getting babies, you might look into adopting older kids. Now, the next thing you're also going to have to worry about when you decide to start looking for a partner is, what do you want in the relationship? This is a serious issue for people that seem somewhat healthy but have some codependent tendencies. They don't know what they want in their relationships. Because they never were asked, what do you want? They were never given what they wanted. So you have to know what you want in a relationship before you go into it, or else you're probably going to end up hurting yourself. Oh, darn. Yeah, the wind is blowing this round. Whatever. I'm going to pull that forward. Yeah, okay, that's the best I can do there. You're going to see the wind. Was there anything else I was wanting to talk about? That's it for the most part. If you don't have ways of vetting, I'm not a relationship expert, so I can't give you the tests that you need to apply to your potential significant other. But I will say this: if you don't have them, if you don't have those tests, you will walk into blunders and you will fail, and you will get hurt. And it is better to get hurt early than it is to, it's better to it is better to cut off a relationship early than it is to let it drag out and both people hurting in it, and then when they finally break up, they both feel even worse. It gets bad. Healthy relationships don't look like a sprint. The people that want the sprint, let them chase psychopaths, because that's what they're going to get, and they're going to like them for about 3 months, and then they'll just rinse and repeat. That's that. So if you ever find that someone is looking for the feels and they're breaking your boundaries, it's a good idea to cut that person off, because they're not right for you. It doesn't matter how pretty they are, or if you like the same hobbies. These people are not ready for a long-term relationship, and they may never be, and that is not your game. So it's completely fair to say, I am not going to date you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that's what's happening. Thank you for your time. It was fun hanging out with you. In peace. And you shouldn't be afraid of doing that. Odds are nowadays you are bound to hit a lot of roadblocks when looking for a healthy relationship. I've hit plenty of roadblocks. Since I'm a Christian, I do not, I just can't date college girls, period, unless they're also Christian and they clearly stand against the same things I stand against. It's going to be hard for me to find a spouse for a long time, which it sucks, but you know what, whatever. I have about 2 years now while I'm an undergrad. If I look at churches and I find a nice woman, sure, that'd be great. But I know my life path for the next 6 to 10 years, and that is I spend the next 2 years down in Columbus for my next undergrad. Then I spend the next 4 to 8 years. I don't know if I'm going to get my master's, but I am getting my PhD. And I'm probably going to get licensed. So I think you can still have a private practice and have a license if you go down the PhD path. I'm pretty sure that you can still do that. But yeah, that's my plan. So I know either I find a woman that understands that she's going to have to move with me in 2 years, 3 years, or I'm going to find a woman away from here, away from Indiana or wherever I end up going. And I also know what kind of colleges I'm going to have to look at. So I'm probably not going to get an amazing degree, but that's a lot healthier than going to these highly prestigious schools, and then they're overloaded with far left extremist ideas in the faculty and in the students. Yeah. So I clearly have a long path ahead of me if I want to get married one day. And it's good that I'm building up some of these ideas on what to look for. Also, quick tip, if you yourself are codependent, the first thing that I know you struggle with is compassion. I shouldn't say struggle with. You tend to have a lot of compassion for other human beings. Like, I know I have some codependent tendencies. I personally know that I have compassion for even murderers. Now, I'm not talking Hitler. I'm talking, run-of-the-mill guy that ended up killing someone. I can have some compassion for some, I'll say sociopaths, people that got pushed to where they're going. They weren't born with any conditions. They weren't born with a lack of empathy. They got pushed there. This is what you see a lot of time in street violence and gangs. I'm the kind of person that can have compassion for those people. That's good as a Christian, but it's not very good for myself. And the issue there is when you start having a lot of compassion for other people, you oftentimes leave yourself out. So people with codependency issues, your first step should be to start having compassion for yourself and knowing when to say enough is enough. That is straight out of Richard Grannon's philosophy there. I promise you, I will be using a lot of information from other psychologists until I have my own degree, until I have my own credentials. So I'll be quoting or paraphrasing them. So yeah, thank you for your time. Feel free to comment down below, give me some feedback. I like discussions. I like that stuff. If you end up, from now on, just letting you know, if you end up seeing videos with when it says like one comment but there's nothing down there, I've been seeing a lot of like bot accounts just spamming links in my comments, so I am deleting those as I see them. So yeah, thank you for your time, guys. I'll see you around. Peace.